Welcome to You Are My Sunshine. This is a new project featuring our all-season tissue box. So what you can do is you can take the lid off, and here's your obnoxious tissue box that's supposed to be beautiful to put in your house. And the panels just come out, and you can flip them over and paint on the back side. This particular project would make a lovely sign as well, so don't feel like you're trapped by a tissue box. But the technique is really cool. So what I've done is I've used a stencil for the lettering, and then I've used a chalk pencil. And so I show you how to do that. Very easy lesson for this. And then we've just done a simple flower with some dry brushing. So it's a really quick project, and you could, make a sign, you could make a tissue box, you could do any kind of format, but super fast, real fun project to do. Sometimes we don't need to get all muddled down into deep projects, and sometimes it's just fun to do something quick. Okay, so I am going to get the stencil on here, and I've already lined it up, and I want to take a little bit of these mono dot adhesive from Tombow. I want to just put a little bit here and there. This eliminates tape, and it lifts up and doesn't leave any residue, so it's just an awesome little trick. And so I'll line that up and make sure I'm straight across the top and the bottom. There's probably nothing worse than crooked lettering, so make sure that you're straight. Okay, and I'll just press it down. Oh, that's interesting. You can see through it and see that you've pressed it. Kind of cool. Next I'm going to use, I want these to be chalky letters, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take time and just scribble inside my chalk, my stencil. Okay, and then when I get done, I'm going to take these IPC ink paint chalk brushes, and I'm going to pounce the chalk to make it look chalky-like. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. On the bigger letters, when you have a bigger area, you can go ahead and give it an outline with your sharpness. So while you're sharp, instead of wearing it down in the middle and then having to sharpen to get the edges, go ahead and give yourself the edge, and then fill in the middle, and you can just kind of do these little kind of curlicues. And if you're careful about it, you can turn your pencil, and so you're kind of pre-sharpening it for other areas. But when you're blending, you just go ahead and tap, and you could also sweep if you want to, but that's the technique. Okay, so I'm going to use the flat top. There's really not another brush that's made like this, and I'll just flick off some of that dust. This is a really wide and lovely, kind of dense brush. It's got a really neat resilience to it, I guess. So I want to just keep something to wipe off my extra dust with. And I want to be forcing it underneath the stencil. Okay, and then this, you can just kind of whisk just a little bit. And you can peek at this if you think it needs to be darker, you can repeat. You want to look for evenness. I want my color of my letter S to be similar to the color of the E, so make sure if it's not that you change one of them or the other, otherwise you're going to have an awkward looking lettering. Alright, so then we'll go and we'll pull up and peek, and that looks pretty darn good. Okay, so living and learning, I need a better tool because that lifted a little bit of my black paint. So I will go in and patch my black paint before I go any further. I wouldn't push down as hard. I think that's what did it, is I really squished that down. However, you would definitely want to test your glue before you do that. But I can just go ahead and patch it, no problem. Alright, if you've got any areas, like I've got a little bit right here where I have a mess, not a big mess, just a little bit of a mess. This is the medium point blend, and notice it comes to a really sharp point right there. So I'm wetting it, and I'm just going to use it to clean up any chalk residue. So I love that we can do this beautiful chalk writing and not feel like we have to get it perfect the first time out. And we have tools that we can use. And just rinse your brush frequently. Okay, so then there's our lettering. Now what we want to do next is we probably want to go ahead and add just a little bit of a drop shading to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do to the right side, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a broken line and under. And that's just going to give us a little bit more dimension down from the top. I love doing the broken line because the broken line is going to be less stressful for us. Okay, and see how that just adds that little bit of detail. And you want to be consistent. I don't think I'm going to do it to these upper letters because I think they're busy enough. They're just nice and fine. But I definitely think these guys. Follow along the curves. Okay, and then I'll take my eraser and I'll erase this little line over here. And then I'll just reverse it so that I can reach in there. Whenever your fingers feel like they're stretching to the most of their stretchiness, stop doing what you're doing and break the line. You always want to line with confidence. Okay, and I'm not really digging that line right there. Okay, so I think that this is good. I'm going to erase this, and then I'm going to spray it with some adhesive. I'm going to go get that and show you. Okay, I'm going to use this Krylon Workable Fixative. It's 1306 is the number. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to barely mist over this in two directions. And that's going to seal this down so that I can't wipe it off and I can't smudge it. So what's neat about this is what you can do is you can do your chalk lettering, and then you can mist it when you're happy with it and then work on embellishing it. And if you get too much, you can wipe it back and you saved the work that you've done before. Okay, now we're going to paint our flowers. We're going to start with the back ones. And I've got some paint loaded in this round brush, and I'm just going to streak, which is called dry brushing, by just pressing the tip and pulling in. Come from the tip, and we can continue to highlight just a little bit more as we go. Let me show you how I'm loading the brush. So I'm pulling into this flat, and then I'm kind of forming it back into a round and then flicking on my paper towel, which flattens the tip out just a little bit. Pay attention that I'm pulling from the tip, which is going to give me the most control, to the inside, and then I'm lifting my brush up so it doesn't end abruptly. And like I said, we can repeat this a second time. And I'll just work my way around. Okay, now I've got them done. I'm going to go back into the back ones, and I'm going to highlight them just a little bit more towards the tips. But I'm not going to bring it in as far as the previous coat. I want it just a little bit strengthened out there on the tip. And you'll notice that I'm painting just a little bit methodically. I'm doing the every others before I'm doing the top ones, so that I get an idea of how much more I'm going to need when I do the next step. So I want to see what the lower ones look like, and then I can address the top ones. You'll also notice that I attempted to cover up all the graphite lines and stuff like that. That's a really good, a good tip for not having to clean up a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, now I'm going to take Russet in my short bright brush, and I'm going to dip my head down on the screen here. And I just want to get that deeply, darkly inner area shaded so that it looks like those petals are actually behind. So I'm just kind of tickling that in. It's time for new glasses. I'm having to get in closer than my viewing distance. Well, use very little water when you're doing this with this short bright. It gives you a lot more control over your brush. And then on these guys right here, you'll go ahead and just do them, maybe leave a little sliver of yellow and just do a nice shape following little circular motion. Okay, I'm going to use my IPC medium Deerfoot brush. These are just really awesome brushes. I invite you or encourage you to check them out. So it's got a nice natural fiber. So I'm going to go up and over my edge. And I'll probably have to do another pass at this, so I'm just going to go ahead and get it based, and then I'll bring you back for details. Okay, I'm going to take my yellow and the dry brush, and I'm going to just put a nice highlight down the middle of the bee's body. And by not going to the edge, it's going to give it a little bit of roundness. And these bees are also there strategically to bring the yellow into the artwork. Really important that you move your colors around. Okay, and I think what I'm going to do for my wingy dingy thingies here is I'm going to chalk them. And I should not be chalking these yet because I'm also going to put little corners as well, and that means I'm probably going to wipe that off, and I don't want to go spray it just yet. So I'm going to wait and finish that when I do all the final details. Okay, and for my bee details, I've got kind of a ratty little round here. I'm hoping it's going to give me a little bit of scruffiness. And it did a good job. Sometimes, I never throw away a brush. You never know when it'll be useful for some kind of strange technique. I've got my original paintbrush that I ever bought, and it is a destroyed angle filbert, an angle brush kind of thing, and it makes the most perfect rosebuds. So never throw away a brush. Increase that just a little bit. Okay. Alright, so we're going to go in and give this one more coat. I'm turning so that the toe is facing outwards. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of the soft black on that, and then I'll put it where I want it, turning and rotating my brush. As I go, I'll wipe out my brush, pick up just a little bit of the marigold, and then while it's wet, I'll highlight on the opposite side. Alright, I've gotten out Sunny Day, and I'm going to highlight the top petals just a little bit. Not the bottom ones, because then that'll make the top ones look more like they're on top. And maybe not all over, maybe I'll just do this more to the inside. Let's take a look and see. Make sure that you're doing a dry brush so that, oops, I wanted off too many of them. Also do shape following strokes. If it looks too chalky on your flowers, then go ahead and mix a little bit of marigold in it. I'm liking the effect of mine. One more, I'm doing it all the way around. Okay, yeah, see how that separates the back from the front? And then maybe we'll go in and give our bees just a little bit of jazz as well, up the middle. Okay, so we're going to give the stem just a little highlight with Hauser medium green. And then we're going to repeat that with Hauser light, but not just yet. And then we'll take our leaves and just build a nice texture-y highlight that in just a second as well. I think I'll go ahead and draw it out from the shape is a lot like this shape, so of the petals, so we'll draw it in just like I did over there. I think that'll give us a better dry brush look. And just shape following. If you start dragging and you can't get any paint off your brush, that means you need to reload. Yeah, I like the fade of that better. Reload, flick on the paper towel. Okay, we're going to repeat with a little bit of a Hauser light, just at the tip. And maybe just towards the top of this one. I don't like how balanced those are looking. Oh, and then we've got to repeat with the Hauser light on the stem as well to carry that color. And then we have this lovely sunflower. Okay, we'll go ahead and float a little bit of a vein with black green. Okay, we're going to take our bee detail and we'll go ahead and just line some of the stuff. Then we'll take our point blend, and what we'll do is we'll just stipple and blend just a little bit to give those inner bee leaves, bee wings a fade, and to give it that kind of gossamer kind of look. Cute, cute, cute. We're going to have some details too around the edges. So I can't decide if I want checks or not though, so I'm going to wait for a second. Okay, so I have got 2 coats of black on both sides of this, and varnish. I think I've got 2 coats of varnish on it, and as a result all my tabs are going to be really tight. So here's what you do when you got that going on. Go ahead and tape if your stuff is cured, and then just sand some of that paint off. Okay, super easy, super quick, super controlled. Just using a sanding disc. And save that piece of tape for any of your other tabs, and it should pop right on in. I get it lined up. There we go. And where are you? There we are. There. So that's the secret to getting your tabs to fit. Alright, I've got my tissue box. Whoops, get you on camera. Tissue box put together, and I absolutely adore it, but the black looks a little bit kind of boring. So I'm trying to decide what to do. One of the things that I think I'm wanting to do, and I'm trying to decide if I want it too country or a little more elegant. So I'm going to talk my way through it, and then you guys can go your own way. if you wanted it more elegant, then obviously trimming with a little bit of gold would be the right way. Or if you wanted it a little bit country, you could take, you know, a chicken wire stencil and countryfy this just a little bit. So be thinking about what your style is and what you're more likely to put in here to make sure that it's going to work for the whole year. Okay, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to use the metallic luster in the burnished brass, and it's a kind of a creamy, soft color. Smear this around on my palette and on my applicator. Okay, so I've got it mostly wiped off, and then what I think I want to do is just try kind of schmutzing it on just a little bit. Don't move your stencil. I kind of want that faded. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. So it's got a little teeny bit of a detail. I think that's probably enough. No, can't decide. It almost looks like fingerprints. That's not reading chicken wire. Okay, so I'm going to wipe that off. You can always base coat over things, and you can always wipe things off. So that didn't work. And I've got got some varnish on my piece. I'm probably going to have to re-black that out. And let's see. Let's try a few checks and see how that works. Okay, work it over here. And you can actually thin this stuff with a little bit of water, and it does a really good job. I'm thinking kind of soft checks, so I don't want to bring too harsh a checky line in. Okay, so let's check that out. Yeah, so that just gives us just a little bit of countrified detail. And we'll repeat over here, so they're stronger in the corners, and then soften towards the insides. Okay, DecoArt came out with a fabulous little set of the Dazzling Metallics in little paint pots, which is just the perfect amount of metallics, frankly, and much cheaper than doing the other. I'm going to mix this lighter gold with this darker gold and just go along the bottom of my project and make some gold checks. By doing gold checks, I'm having a little bit of an elegant country and not too country a look, and that's just going to add that little bit of detail that we needed. Okay, so I'm going to also take this out because I'm trying to make a mess out of myself here. I'm going to take a little bit more of the metallics out of the lid there, a little bit of each, mix them up. And I'm going to use my little applicator. These are really, really, really dense foam applicators. They're way stronger than like the cosmetic sponges. And then I'm just going to take this and just brush along this base. Don't want it kind of solid. I just want it a little bit tinted. It's going to be just a suggestion of gold instead of like a kind of gaudy, overwhelming, like, ugh, gold. Alright, and then we'll go over here to our piece and we'll do the same thing around the bottom. I think that plus a little bit of check, I think is going to be just the right amount of detail. Okay, I'm going to experiment. I've got a little bit of this medium on my brush, and if I let it just flop over just a little bit on this oval, it's going to make a nice little band going around the top. Oops, unless you push too hard. And if you do, then we know that we can fix it with a little bit of paint. Okay, so that is our top. I'll put that in water. If you wash those little sponges out, they'll last you forever. Just keep them clean.